Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Absolute Football Podcast, third episode in our Women in Football series, which, as you can see, it is in partnership with Her Game Too. We do have a very, very special guest, which I will introduce in a moment. But first of all, JCB are back together again. Jen, I'll start with you first. How are you doing? How's your week going so far?
It's going all right. Can't complain at the minute. It's nice, except for this weather that we got this afternoon. But other than that, everything's good.
I know, and it's a podcast where we don't have to talk about our football teams as well. So that's always a positive.
Yeah, we're happy today.
And Ben, how are you doing? How's your week going?
Yeah, it's going okay. I've only just clocked the fact that you've actually put it in JCB order, haven't you? So I don't know if that's
know.
No, it's going all right. Yeah, nice to have a week off sort of thing from football. No midweek game, so although I'm not looking forward to going to Western-super-Mare this time next Tuesday, so that's going to be a long one. But no, it looks excited with the guests we've got on tonight.
I know, it's another one as well, Ben, that you pulled out the bag. So thank you so much. But we do have sports therapist Bethan Cooper. Beth, how are you? And thank you so much for coming on here as well.
You're welcome. I am good, thank you. Yeah, everything is good. How are you guys?
Yeah, all good, thank you. Really excited to get started with this one. We've been enjoying these ones, haven't we?
Yeah.
But we will take it back now. So right at the start, Beth, how did you first get into sports therapy and what led you into football specifically?
Oh, we're going back. So my upbringing when I was younger wasn't in football at all. It was in gymnastics. And I actually had like a back injury when I was, I want to say like 13, 14. And it was in like a lot of pain from it and everything like that. And the rehab process from that is actually what really, really interested me. And kind of like at that age, kind of figuring out how your body gets better and what's like right, what's wrong, what you can do, what you can't do. Especially with gymnastics as well, because it's obviously such a complicated sport and everything like that. So that kind of opened my eyes up to initially like physiotherapy. So at that age, obviously I knew that I'm not academic. I'm very practical. Sitting there doing written exams definitely wasn't for me. So I knew even going into like A levels, wanted to do something practical. And I think when I was like year 12, started looking at like what courses were out there. I was coaching at this point as well. So I was like very stuck between doing coaching or doing sports therapy, which I'd found, which is very different to physio because it is a lot more hands-on. Whereas physio, you needed biology A level, which I remember the statistic of most people failing it in the year 12 was so high that I was like, that's not going to be me. I don't want that to be me. So yeah, sports therapy was like very much like if you're a sport person, it is based in the sporting environment. It is quite clinical, but it is like very hands-on. Like literally my first lecture, I remember we all sat down and it was literally like, cool, here are your classmates, whack your sock off. We're looking at the foot anatomy. And it was like straight in the deep end. So I was like, oh, okay. You get very up close and personal with people as well. But yeah, so even like when I was like, I'm in an RN, if I wanted to do sports therapy, I went down to an open day at the uni that I ended up going to because I went down to Chichester. And my head of sports therapy, a guy called Ian, and he was like introducing the course and then put a photo up of a broken leg and just went, if you can't deal with this, sports therapy is not for you. And at that point, if you want to leave, you can leave. And people were like, oh my God, and got up and left. And I was like, oh, that looks interesting. So I think at that point, I knew it was for me. So that was quite nice. And then to be fair, uni was like a good learning experience because you kind of find out about like yourself, and especially in like a completely new environment such as sports therapy, kind of what you think that you might be good at and then what you find out you're actually probably quite good at. And I always thought that I would be really clinically based. I thought that I would love being inside, assessing people, being like in a clean clinical environment, and never. I literally remember thinking, being like, oh, I could not imagine anything worse than being stuck on the side of a football pitch for 90 minutes. Like, who does that? And then in my third year, we got an opportunity. So everyone got opportunities to take on a university team. And I basically got asked to do what were called like the wishies. So all of the sports teams were like West Institute of Higher Education is what University of Chichester used to be called. So I got the wishy twos. So basically the university second team, because I knew some of the people on there. And that was like my first experience of football, first experience of like a changing room. And basically from there got sucked into it. And up until recently, haven't stepped out of it. And we're nearly 10 years down the line. So yeah, it was a good eye opener.
Love that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, Bev. We know, obviously, I know very well your career and everything like that and where it all started. And obviously, from university and that, obviously, you've also gone into non-league football, started off at Dartford, wasn't it? You know, that was probably your first experience. Yeah. And then, how did you find that, the transition?
Tell you what, I'll be real. I've always said this from like start to end. I'm wasted in football because I don't know anything. I don't know who's who. Like, you know, you go, oh, this person's side for this team. I'll be like, okay, cool. I'm wasted in it. So my knowledge of it is like really, really bad. But I was literally, because I'd enjoyed it quite a lot, I was like, oh, I'll see what jobs are out there. And found like a placement year basically at Dartford to kind of get experience of what non-league football was like. So my first year was based at Dartford, and that's obviously when they were in National League South. We got to the playoff final. No, we didn't. We got to the playoffs. We missed out on automatic promotion on the last day of the season to Havant. They won on goal difference on the day. And then we lost to Braintree in the playoff, I think, quarterfinal, semi-final, who then ended up going on to get promoted. And we were like 13 points ahead of them. So that was a real experience as well. But also to take from that, there was a lot of characteristic traits that I worked. Some people liked and some people didn't like. So that was like my biggest learning curve, I'd say, is going into a professional environment where also the boys are grown children, basically, and going into an environment where I can be quite confident and quite talkative and everything like that. And actually, some people don't like that. Like, so it's really, really interesting, especially being female as well. I think that came across very differently because you're just being friendly with people and they're like, oh, no, you're being too open, you're being too forward and stuff like that. But then I don't necessarily think that would go the other way. So yeah, it was first season at Dartford was really good, really got a taste for it. Was also working at Gillingham Girls RTC at the time. So dealing with girls from under 8 all the way up to under 16. So that was quite interesting because you're seeing like the flip side. So you're seeing like the teenage years, especially with girls as well. That was like a big, big learning curve. And then it was someone that I knew from working there that then asked me if I wanted to come in and help at Maidstone, which is basically my way in as to then when I spent the next 5.5 or 5 years of my life, basically.
Yeah, you had sort of quite mostly an enjoyable time at the club. Obviously, you had a few change of managers, obviously, during that period as well. And, you know, I guess as well, from that side of things, is that hard to do, you know, when you've got different managers? Because obviously we don't really see it from the medical side of this because they want their own way about how they want to change things around the club. I mean, was it quite difficult at times to adapt to the way managers wanted you to work?
It can be as well, because obviously you don't necessarily, like, it's the same with the players. You don't really get told anything in advance. It's a case of you rock up and you go, oh, we got a new manager, or this person's coming in. You're like, oh, okay. And then You don't know what staff they're bringing with them. So it was always like an element of uncertainty. You didn't know how they worked, kind of what their communication was like. Some people, it's kind of like you didn't know whether you would get on with them or not. But it can be quite disruptive, I'd say. But actually, I'd say in terms of it, I've always viewed it, medical staff have it hard. Like, we are the barrier between the management and the players, and people kind of play on that a little bit sometimes, but it is hard because then I've basically learned that anything that I say to a player, I'll go and say the same thing to a gaffer. And sometimes, like, we are obviously there, we have a duty of care to the players. So sometimes, even if a player's being a bit of a knob, you do have a duty of care to them at the end of the day. So that's also when the manager's like expecting something out of you or expecting something out of a player that they're not capable of doing, you have to kind of step up and push against that, which they don't necessarily enjoy. So I've actually been lucky. Like, I'd say the managers that I've worked with have been really, really good. I obviously spent like initial years with like a couple of, I think I had 3 managers in the space of a season, which obviously is very disruptive, not just for staff, but for the club in general. And then also the miscommunication, we don't hear anything. So when a manager's been sacked, you don't really hear about it. You just hear whatever's been put in the group chat. But most of my time at Maidstone was under Hack and Terry, and I actually got on with them really, really well. I got on with Hack quite well. Again, different managers have different perspectives and different ways of approaching things, and I know then players' opinions of managers can vary a lot. So some players get on really, really well with management and some really, really don't. So I always try and stay quite neutral, because also I know that on the pitch is the job, and that's what I'm there to do, my job. And it's then sometimes if it gets heated or anything like that, it's not personal. But yeah, I've also then obviously coming away from that works at a couple of different clubs where I've been less involved in management. And then I'd say my last year in football, the manager that I worked under, we got on really, really well. He really trusted me. The communication was so easy. We spoke like every day, and that's probably one of my most enjoyable seasons in football up until when he got sacked, which is Terry. And then I got on really well with Dukes. So I've had a good career in terms of like the managers that I've worked under, definitely.
But the thing is, obviously, going from that, were there any sort of challenges you face entering what's often dominated, like as a male-dominated industry? Like, I'm guessing there's been times and that sort of thing where you thought this is a lot harder than I thought it might be.
Yeah. Instantly, I think the main thing that you have to, or the main thing that I had to try and address or overcome, is the fact that me being female in a men's environment, especially with like the older generation, pretty much automatically meant that I didn't necessarily know what I was doing. So although I've got a degree, although I've got however many years experience, I'm not saying that I know everything, because I definitely don't. Even to this day, I definitely don't. I still refer to other people and stuff like that. But I have learned enough that then I warrant the respects of being there. But I felt like by certain people, I was never trusted. I was never fully trusted to just get on and do the job. It was always a case of having to have someone oversee me, or having to have, like, the Maidstone physio. He doesn't have someone coming in and telling him what to do, but he's probably a similar situation to when I was there on my own. Do you get what I mean? So that's probably the biggest challenge in terms of the oversight of the club. But then it's just a respect thing. And I've seen it like at probably every club that I've been at. The more professional the clubs are, the less you see it, which is good. And to be fair, the more professional the players are, even if it's not necessarily like a higher level club, the more professional the players are and the better respect the players have, the less this happens as well. But automatically, as soon as you get annoyed about something or upset about something, which when you've got players arguing at you basically telling you how to do your job, or they disagree with your professional opinion, that's really hard. But as soon as you get upset about something, it's like, oh, you're getting a bit emotional. Or it's, oh, you're getting hormonal. And I'm like, oh my God, like the disrespect is huge. But I find it hard in a way because I try to get on well with the players. Like I always view the job as you trust people and you build an element of trust and a basis to where they can trust you to come and talk to you about injuries, to come and talk to you about their personal life, anything that is like struggling with them. Again, the duty of care side, the fact that it's not just injuries, it's not just a physical injury, it's a psychological aspect. Is it if there's any additional stresses going on at home, whether anything else financially is stressing them out, anything like that, we are like first port of call. Especially being a female, I feel like you do kind of get a little bit maternal to them as well. And they just any of them that like had that level of disrespect, it would just be like, I'm trying to be there for you. Don't turn around and go, oh, you're hormonal, oh, you're getting emotional. Like it's just like narcissistic. And I'm just like, I'm entitled. You've made me feel this way. I'm entitled to feel that way. Also, I will address a situation because I feel like you've disrespected me. And then it's their way of turning around and being like, I don't like the fact that you've called me out on my shit, basically. But the more players that I got on with, the more that you could actually sit down and just have an adult and a human conversation with, never, ever have turned around and said anything like that. If anything, they'll back me up and they'll be like, are you okay? Like I had quite a personal, deep, like bad thing happen to me in my last full season at Maidstone. And the players rallied around me like no tomorrow. And they could then see when I had good days and bad days. They could just read you. And that was really, really supportive. And that kind of element of using someone's emotions against them then completely went out the window. So, yeah, they're the probably worst parts of being a woman in that environment. But I'm quite good at setting a line. And it's... they try and cross it sometimes, but you put boundaries in place. So like, even I've had it with players before. I'd be like, drop the attitude, go out, think about what you said and come back in and try again. And it kind of gets everyone else laughing. It kind of diffuses the situation, but it's also addressing it going, what you've said isn't okay. And they kind of go, oh, okay. But I had a situation at Maidstone before. Again, like banter kind of gets a little bit out of hand. And someone had put my coat, it was freezing. Someone had put my coat in the freezer, like in the ice machine. And all the boys are laughing at it and being like, ha, ha, ha. And there was like 10 of them in the physio room. And I was like, everyone out. And I remember them being like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And I was like, didn't raise my voice, didn't say anything else. I just went, everyone out. And then they realized I was being serious and they were like, huh. And I was like, everyone out. And they were like, oh shit. So they all had to leave. And then they had to come back in one by one and get treatment. And I was like, that's the thing. It's like, it's my area. It's my home. It's my room. You do what I say. And if you disrespect that, then if you're acting like a child, I'll treat you like a child.
Yeah.
Basically. But yeah, it's good and bad. Like it is good and bad. But yeah, I still think there's a stigma issue attached to it. I still think people don't necessarily think. You see it even in coaching. Just because they're female in the men's game, they don't know what they're doing, or they can't be as good. How could they be as good? They're not male.
Yeah. Moving on to more positive areas. Obviously, you've moved up in your career. It would be lovely to know what kind of role models or people along the way that you still remember from back when you was learning that still have an impact on your day-to-day when you're working.
I'd say that like some of the tutors that I had or the lecturers that I had at uni, how confident they were and how knowledgeable they were have always stuck with me. And how firm they were, but also like empathetic. So Vicky and Carolina were two of my key tutors when I was at uni, and a lot of what they've said has always stuck with me. So that's always been good. But it's quite isolating, like the position that you're in, because especially like in the leagues that I've worked in, you work on your own. But to be fair, like I've got a sports therapy group chat with some girls that I went to uni with. We haven't seen each other in years, but anything that's kind of like, oh, we're not sure about this, what do you think about this, we'll put that in a group chat. So having that element of support has been really, really good, especially in those like initial early years when you're not sure, you're dealing with everything on your own. Like when I set my business up, it's hard to have people to lean on. Seeing the number of women coming into men's football as well throughout the years has been really, really good. Because I always feel like it's been an area that's potentially been like closed off. So seeing more and more women now doing a good job has been like really good. And I'd say the last 3 of my seasons, so when I was at Bromley, they had a really good programming where they had like university students come in and do like a 6-week rotation. So being able to kind of be part of a staff group that was also helping the younger generations coming through is really nice, because then I saw even one of the students, and he must have been there when I just first started at Bromley, and he remembered me, which was really, really nice. And I've still got some of them on Instagram and stuff like that. And then I had a couple of students when I went to Hive, so I kind of dropped down and went part-time and stuff. And one of my students, I still get on really well with her, and she's just graduated. She was part of Whitstable last year, and obviously they won the FA Trophy. FA Vars. So she's like she hadn't even graduated, and she's gone up to Wembley. She's got a medal. Like that's amazing. Like to be able to see her journey as well, and like be able to be there to support her and kind of encourage her. And then I had 3 really good students last year when I was at Folkestone as well. I don't necessarily think football is potentially for them. In terms of like what they want to do, but they literally saw the rawness of what football's like, and they were again really, really good with like man management of the players and communication and everything like that. So it's been nice to be supported by people that I went to uni with, and we're all on the same playing field, but also to be able to support students coming up and kind of be a part of what I had when I was doing placement when I was at uni as well. So yeah, it's nice to kind of do full circle with that.
It would be interesting as well to know what a typical match day is like, because obviously some people just think, oh, you'll just go in for the game, that's it. But most of us know it's more than a 9-to-5 job. It's 24 hours. Sometimes it can be long hours. So what does a typical match day look like for you?
I'd say rock up 12:30. So I assume it's like 3:00 kickoff. Everything's kind of prepped like training all day before. So if I go back to when I was at Maidstone, that was easier because they were full time or like daytime. So I'd kind of prep everything kind of day before, get there quite early, get settled in. Even if players aren't coming in for like 20 minutes, it's nice to just go in and sit and kind of have a little bit of time to yourself, have a little clean, anything like that. I like having a clean room. That is my bugbear. I don't like dirty floors and stuff like that. Everything's got to be clean. I think it's just a respect thing, isn't it? A respect to the room, to the place, everything. But yeah, I'd get there, go and put all the stuff that the boys would want and need in the changing room. So kind of tapes, strappings, deep heat, vapor rub, Vaseline, sock tape, under wrap, anything like that would go straight in the changing room, because that's like the little things that they come in and go, oh, have you got this? Have you got this? Have you got this? So that kind of leaves them to their own devices. We used to have a tray that everything would go on. So then they knew that if they were done with something, they put it back on the tray. So it was easy for everyone else to get. So yeah, I used to do that, come back into the physio room, and then it would literally be a case of as soon as players start turning up, they would come and write their name up on the board, first come, first served basis, come in to get rubs, strap-ins, tape-ins, anything like that. Depending on fitness testing, they would come in early, get assessed, do a fitness test. Are they good? Are they bad? Like, are they fit? Are they not? One of Hack and Terry's favourite phrases in terms of fitness and whether you're fit was, you're pregnant or you're not. You can't be a little bit pregnant So you can't be a little bit fit, or you can't be slightly unfit. You're fit or you're not, which I quite like that analogy. It's like very black or white. But yeah, so they'd be fit or they're not. And then, come in, get rubs, strap-ins, go in, 1:30 for team talk, anything that would be done. So I'd try and get all the rubs done before, and then the strap-ins would come in after that. They're all out by kind of 2 and then ready to go and warm up. At that point, you either assess and treat the injured ones that aren't obviously involved, or it's a time to kind of decompress, get everything ready for the match. So that'd be a case of like getting the ice ready, getting my bag ready, making sure that I've got everything in there, even like getting changed and putting my extra layers on, especially in winter. I got so cold. So it would literally be like layering up, putting my boots on, things like that, because then as soon as the boys come in at like 2:45, 10:45, it's like, where's this? So it'd be a case of like literally like going back and forward like a yo-yo. And then it would just settle, and then it would just be a case of taking what you need out, making sure that I've got everything. If people have got radios, making sure everyone's got a radio, making sure the radios are on. And then at that point, actually, when I'm sitting on the bench, that's when you can kind of go, okay. And then obviously then you just got to be like switched on for anything that happens in the game. I used to like a cup of tea. That was my thing. I used to have a nice cup of tea at I don't know if I used to have one before the game or first half. I'd try and have like probably a cup of tea each half of the game. That's got less over the years, but when it was at Maidstone, it was literally right outside the physio room, so I could literally like make myself a cup of tea really quick. So go out, do that, and then come back in. And then especially the last season that I was at Maidstone, one of the goalkeepers used to come in. So we used to they'd obviously do their team talk and whatever, but I'd go into the physio room. I tried to stay out of like the team chats and stuff like that, because I don't know what they're talking about. And it's like, then I've usually had like things that I needed to deal with, injured players, cuts, this, that, the other. And also it'd be like the only opportunity that I'd necessarily get to even like take my boots off, because then if they're coming in, you can't just be like, can you just give me 2 minutes to change my shoes? Like it'd be a case of like you're needed then. So I just get changed as quick as I could. And then if I didn't have anything going on, the keeper would come in and we'd literally just sit there and talk about the game and decompress. And then I'd probably leave the physio room. I'd be the last one out. So if all the boys were showered and gone round, it would probably be like 6-ish that I'd probably end up going round as well. So I'd lock up, make sure everything was clean, make sure everything was back. If we had training, then I'd kind of make sure that everything was set up for training. If we'd done like an away game, you try and make sure that you were set up for another away game, and just make sure that everything was packed. Radios were back on charge, stuff like that. And then if you had injuries, it'd be a case of taking a photo or making a note of who then I needed to check in on, putting a message in the group chat to be like, okay, any knocks, niggles, injuries, you need to let me know by this time. And then going around feeding back to the management, if I've had to assess people, being like, okay, this is what I think this person is, I need to have a look at this person at training, So then by like 6:15, sometimes 6:30, then I can chill. That would be nice. So it is full on. It is a lot full on. And the thing is, it's not always that busy. Sometimes it's a case of like a couple of rubs, strap-ins, go out, you've got nothing to do during the game, no injuries to pick up on, no one wants rubs after, or maybe a couple of people want rubs. And then you're in the bar by like 5:45, nothing to report, have a drink, go home. Like it can vary a lot each game. Obviously, you don't know what's coming until it happens.
What would you say is the most rewarding part of your job role? I know there's probably a lot of things you can say, but just a couple of them if you had to give us a few.
Getting players back from injury. That was always like a good one. So if you know that a player's out for like a long period of time, then seeing them play their first game after an injury is definitely up there. So Ben would know we had a player that had done a double ligament rupture.
Yeah.
Of all days on my birthday. So I ended up driving him to hospital, which was fun. So yeah, he'd done both of his ligaments, so he was out for like 12 weeks, and his first game back was like less than ideal because basically a illness had gone around the squad. He was a defender. We had no other spare defenders, and he was starting. He was part of starting 11. Sorry, and he got supporters player of the season.
Yeah,
I think.
Did, yeah.
Yeah, so he went on. He was really good after that. So that was like really humbling. I really enjoyed that, and just like seeing people have like little victories. So winning a game meant everything to me. Yeah, I had absolutely no involvement in it, but I knew that as a medical staff, we had done everything that we could to make sure that every player was fit to be selected for that game. And that last season that we got promoted at Maidstone, we had done so well with injuries and making sure that actually everyone was looked after, everyone was managed really well, and everyone gave like the best performance that they could. And that actually then is really rewarding, because then we would take 3 points as like an incredible thing, and if you lost, you take it personally. So yeah, I'd say that's something that has gone through the entire season. But just the different people that you meet as well, like the different characters along the way, like people that I've seen from afar that then I've got to meet and talk to and realize they're actually a really nice person. Just little victories like that is actually like making friendships, helping players back is like the key thing, I'd say.
Yeah, and I just quickly as well, because I can vouch for that. Obviously, the player you referred to, obviously Joe Lull. I always remember one game. It was against Concord Rangers, and he scored a header at the one end, and he actually came running over to celebrate to give you a hug, didn't they? Because obviously you got him back in that period.
Yeah,
and like,
I remember that.
Very rare you see that sort of thing, from players going around to their medicals, and that shows the appreciation the players had for you.
Yeah, and it is hard because also you see them in like their worst moments as well, because you're obviously there when they first get injured, but then you're there when they get back. So it's like it goes full circle, because you're the one basically giving them bad news, but then you're also the one that is like helping get them back. But yeah, that was a good day, that. And it's like even like there's just so many like, but yeah, it's just really, really rewarding, like personally rewarding.
Oh, that's proper melted my heart that I came over and gave you a hug, honestly.
Yeah.
Oh, bless. Do injury risks or rehab approaches differ between female and male players?
They can do, especially with knees and ankles. I'd say more so like potentially hips, because women have obviously wider set hips. We have a larger Q angle. So I know there's been a lot of research recently into like football boots and stuff like that, because the football boots have been based on men's running stances, not women's. But also in terms of say like ACL reconstruction, they use a different or they prefer to use a different tendon for women rather than men. So I think the consultants, so I learned this from when Luke had his ACL reconstruction, because typically a lot of people will have like a hamstring tendon like graft, but he had his patella tendon, so between like your shin bone and your kneecap. So he had that, but for women, for some reason, they prefer using the quadricep tendon. So where your quad's actually attached onto your kneecap is where the tendon that they prefer for women. So that was quite interesting to know. But yeah, definitely. I think also we have like cycles and stuff to consider as well. So I know a lot of people say, oh, like actually being on your cycle doesn't affect you and stuff like that. But I think a study found that a lot of ACLs, or there was an increase in like ligament damages or ligament ruptures when women are on their cycles compared to when they're not. So that's got to come into it as well, because also like hormonal imbalances, fatigue, everything like that is also going to take into consideration when you're healing. So definitely it does approach differently as well. And obviously with different ages as well, the younger you are, the easier it is to bounce back.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you already touched on sort of about, when players, you see them in their low moments, that how do you sort of keep their sort of spirits high in that? Because obviously when they see all the lads training, the management told to just get on with their jobs, you just see they want to be a part of it. Like what's sort of your strategy for keeping their spirits high?
communication is key. So I like to pride myself on being quite empathetic. And I do, if like a player does insult me, I do take it personally, because I also think I wouldn't necessarily insult them. So it is quite hard. But the communication is key, and even you'll know sometimes you notice players wanting to drift away, so wanting to not come in, wanting to go and do stuff on their own because it's easier. And it's also that where I'd be like, okay, come in because I want you to go and sit in the meeting and go and be part of the group. I want you to come in. They're going down the gym. You can, you've done your stuff in the gym. You can go down the gym and go and socialise. And it'd be like, even if they're not coming in until like later, like if they don't need to come in because they're not getting seen until the boys go out on a match day, I'd go, okay, still come in at 1:30, still come and sit with the boys, still come and socialise and chat and be a part of it. Because also at some point, when you're back fit, you've got to go and slot straight back into that. So you need to keep up the banter, keep up like wanting to be involved in that group, because they are all individuals as part of a team. And then that's where it is easy for them to step back and go, I'm an individual, but also it is part of the team. Like, again, I'm not a player, but say with my situation, the boys picked me up, like the boys were straight there to support me. So let alone then if I'm one of them in the changing room, like I would want them to support me with that as well. So it is hard, I think, especially when you can see someone playing in your position. So they probably do find that harder, but also they usually end up being quite close at that point as well. So you see like usually all the strikers. So I know some of the strikers are still really good friends. They've not played with each other for 3 years, but they all get on really, really well still. So yeah, it's you just got to try and do what you can, and communication is key. Checking in on them, not ignoring them, because it is easy to go, okay, just crack on with your rehab. Like I liked going down and spending one-to-one time with the players and going and doing one-to-one rehab with them and encouraging them to talk and supporting them, and just like you do get quite close to them because you spend a lot of time with them. But again, I think that's where like it's a mutual appreciation, because then they would come and speak to me about completely unrelated stuff that's got nothing to do with football, because they felt like they just needed someone to talk to and offload to about it. So that's like really nice as well.
Yeah, it is. I think it's so underrated in that the communication side of it, and that's why they always say it's a whole team effort, isn't it? Like the backroom staff are just as important as I say to the players go out, and that's not just the management staff, but it is people like like say physio, sports therapists, kit men, like everyone behind the scenes. It makes such a massive difference. Obviously, I know you've dealt a lot of injuries in the time, and to be fair, luckily at Maidstone, I know you were always quite good at getting them back quite quickly. But was there ever any sort of really strange or most unusual injuries you've ever come across? Not just time at Maidstone, but in like say other clubs you've been at as well.
I was actually talking about this with someone earlier, because I said it's like asking a paramedic what was the worst injury that they've had is. They've seen so many that like it's normal for them. But it's like I had the thing is, you still come across injuries that I've never dealt with before. So everything, it's like there are some things that you've never dealt with that are new. So when I was at Hythe, wasn't one of my players, but there was one of the opposition players that had a double leg fracture. So he broke both the bones in his shin. So that was quite nasty. Because then you realise that you've got to jump into action and deal with that. When Joe did his ankle, when he had the double ligament rupture, that was interesting, because I was probably 20 metres away from him, and by the time that I got to him, it was like swollen like this on the outside of his ankle. So that was quite interesting. Dealing with, I'd say emotionally, when Luke did his ACL, that was tough because he was sobbing by the time that I got to him. And I was I'd say I'm pretty responsive. So if I saw someone go down, I'd be up and out. And he was sobbing by the time I got to him. But then by the time that he got back to the bench, his pain kicks or like it stopped, and he was like, "Sub me back on, I'm fine." And we were like, "Sit down." But yeah, I've had like thumb dislocation I had last season. Again, an opposition player came up to me and was like, or finger, I think it might have been, white as a sheet, and was like, "Can you put this back in?" I was like, "Yeah, okay." So it was quite fun. But gruesome wise, I think it was in the COVID year, there was a head-to-head incident. Again, not my player. I've been quite lucky with my players. It's everyone else. Like, head-to-head injury, and he ended up splitting his face open. It's like basically, and it had come like it was like a Y here, and it kind of came down. And I think the girl that was dealing with it must have been a graduate, because she got like VAS on her finger, and then like lifted the gauze up to see it, and was like, "Oh, VAS isn't going to cover that." And I was like, "That's going straight to plastics. Like, he needs to go and get that stitched." So we literally, like, I was like, "Do you want a hand?" And like, it's weird. I like dealing with like wounds in like cuts. I just find it really satisfying. So yeah, we helped like basically like strip him back together, pad him up, literally like had like a white cap on, and I was like, "Yeah, you're not playing anymore, but you need to go to hospital as soon as you get home." So I don't know what happened with him, but I hope that he has a nice healed face.
So how do you think attitudes towards female staff in football has changed since you started working within football?
I'd like to say positive. You still get a lot of discrimination, unfortunately, but I think that's in any environment. I don't think that's going to go away. I'd like to think that it will reduce significantly enough that it won't be a weekly issue, but I don't think it will be something that will be completely gone within our lifetime. But I'd say that it has improved because simply there are more women in football, especially in men's football, which is obviously predominantly where I've spent most of my time. You do see more females in football, and I've spoken to players that have typically only had male staff and backroom staff, and they've actually found it more beneficial and positive for the changing room when you have a female there, because you have someone that's also challenging the narrative, so calling them out on stuff, and also like being part of difficult conversations. And like also I've had it where I was like a cause of a conversation, so I got wolf whistled when I was running on the pitch, and I kid you not, it was the loudest thing that you could have heard with like 2,500 people there. It was so loud. So I obviously thought that I would not be seen running on a pitch, and I chucked my middle finger up. And then it was like some of the fans were speaking about it on Twitter and stuff after, but I had some of my players ask me why I thought that being wolf whistled was inappropriate. So you then have to explain, yeah, exactly. You have to explain it to players, but also they're not necessarily aware of it. But then also they were the first people to jump in and support me on social media after. So it's an education for them as well. And it's kind of knowing where the line is and what you can cross and what you can't. So I'd like to say it's definitely making a positive improvement. And I think also with women's football in general doing a lot better now and being a lot more in the public light, it will also be a positive influence on women wanting to work in any aspect of football, that they'll be respected as well as male. But I don't think that it will be something that we'll see completely gone, like any form of discrimination gone. I don't think that will be in our lifetime, unfortunately, even though it should happen today. But it's definitely improved, definitely improved.
It's frustrating though, isn't it? It's like the chants that they have to do as well and bring women into it. It's just no need whatsoever.
It's so unnecessary. Like, I'm doing my job and I've been called a slag. I've been called a slut. Oh, she must sleep with half the team. Cool. I get wolf whistle going on. I get told that I got a good ass and stuff like that. I'm like, well, fair enough. Like, but also I wear the same kit as everyone else. I'm not wearing a low cut top. I literally would wear like a t-shirt like this that is not tight. I would wear trackies, and yet I would still get wolf whistled purely because I've got a set of tits, probably. Make it make sense. I'm there to do a job.
Yeah.
It's so annoying because it's like we're born with these body parts. There's nothing we can do.
Yeah, but then saying that, it's quite funny because I'd also prefer to be complimented, because some people are. I got to know the Maidstone fans quite well, and they would be really, really supportive, and I'd get a lot of good comments. You'd always get the teenage boys being like, "Oh, my groin hurts." I'm like, "You've never ever had a groin massage in your life because it is repulsive." That's quite entertaining because I'm like, immature. But I would prefer to get some sort of compliment in a way. Then, you know, when you see people go on and you go, "You fat bastard, you fat bastard." And it's like, I know that people probably also think that I look good because I do look after myself. I practice what I preach. I go to the gym 4 times a week. So I'm not going to be one of those fat peoples heading you to run, but not doing it myself. So I kind of take pride in that. But also I just think someone is there. It doesn't matter what they look like. If they're fat, whether they're ginger, whether they're female, which seem to be the 3 main things that people will call people out on. It shouldn't matter. We're there at the end of the day. Say a player drops and they have a cardiac arrest, you're not going to give a shit who they look like, what they look like, how they identify, because you're going to want that person to survive. So it's about how good they are at doing their job. And again, it doesn't matter. Like I feel like people think that I'm younger than I am. So I always get it where people think that I'm like 23. I'm 30 next week. So I look at it and go, like, I then also get stereotyped because they think that I'm really young and I don't know what I'm doing. And it's like, but you wouldn't be in that job if you didn't know what you were doing, because you're good at what you do. And that's one good thing that the leagues have done, even in like non-league step 3. Now they make you have a graduate. So before they wouldn't have given a shit. Now they make sure that you have a graduate, and they make sure that you have a certain level of first aid. So the standard, even in the lower leagues, is improving as well.
Yeah, we've mentioned obviously the backroom staff and how important they are to the whole team. But how important do you think it is to have women in the back room? And obviously the girls in the stand seeing it, they can think, oh, maybe one day I could do that as well.
Yeah, I think it's really positive. Like I had, so the season that I was at Hythe and the season that I was at Folkestone, all of the student placements I had, unintentionally, but also I think worked out to be the best, were female. So also it was an environment that automatically you're going out onto a game and you've got 3 female members of staff, or you've got 3 like women sitting on the bench. So I do think it does help because it creates a healthier environment. And also I think when it can be quite intimidating at times, or players are annoyed or they say comments like that, you have people that will back you up. But I haven't worked in an environment with like female coaches or anything like that. But I do think that it would be important. It's important anyway for all the staff to be cohesive and for all of the staff to be singing from the same hymn sheet. And I'd say that's probably why my season when we got promoted at Maidstone was probably one of the best, because we were all singing from the same hymn sheet and we all got on really well. But even more so probably my last season when I was at Folkestone, because all of our staff got on so well and we could have banter, and they would call players out if they'd said something about me. I'd call players out if they said something about a member of staff. I could turn around to the manager and go, well, this player said this, and he'll go, fucking hell. So we'd all have each other's backs, which I think it doesn't matter whether you're male or female. That is really, really important, because if the manager doesn't trust you and the manager doesn't believe in you, regardless of whether you're male or female, you are screwed.
Obviously, this podcast is in partnership with the campaign Her Game Too. I'm not sure if you are familiar with the campaign, but it's about obviously promoting women in sports and obviously inclusivity, which obviously we do have campaigns for other things like Kick It Out for Racism. But what are your thoughts on Her Game Too? And do you think it's making a difference?
I'd like to think so, yeah, because I know some people through the years, especially when I was working at Gillingham, they've gone on to do really well. So they're part of like London City Lionesses now. So that was always really, really important, is like seeing how important it is for young girls to be committed to a sport early on and have the opportunity to go and play and stuff like that. And Gillingham was was the only Kent-based regional talent club in like literally in Kent. So when you go, that's a really, really small opportunity in such a big county. That's quite poor. So I'd like to think from now, especially with how London City Lionesses have grown, they've done like exceedingly well. And her game too, I think, again, it needs more pushing. But again, with how the Lionesses have done, it's only going to like generate more momentum, and it's only going to be bigger, because obviously the kick it out, again, neither of these initiatives should be needed. Like it should be a given. But the fact that they are supported and they are getting so much more attention, it can only be a positive thing.
And you see, like, obviously the benefit it has had, like, say, on women and everything like that. And actually, to be fair, males as well, I think they're starting to understand it a lot more now with all these dedicated fixtures now they're doing around the country at different clubs. And I think as well, a big part of it is probably actually the Lionesses as well. Obviously, they're recent success. We saw it obviously about, was it 3-4 years ago when they won the last Euros, the impact it had on the younger generation. I mean, now they've done it again. Do you feel like now women's football has grown massively and it has more of a positive impact on not just females but males as well?
100%, yeah, because the women have done something twice that the men haven't done.
Yeah.
Like, I know there is like a bigger momentum about like behind the men's game. And the one thing that I find disappointing is, like, you know, when you see people on social media being like, oh, they're forcing it down our throats, I don't want to watch this. Don't watch it. But also equally, we have the men's, like, don't get me wrong, the only time that I really watch football is a European or a World Championship. I won't go and sit home at work, like go and sit home watching the Premier League. That's not me. I'm like I said, I'm wasted in football. But it doesn't matter in the tournament. With the men's football, that is literally forced on your throat. That is on whatever channel every single time a day. So it's got to be equal opportunities in that. But also, I think with more women, more girls, I'd say, coming up, wanting to play football, wanting to be part of that, it's also an education for that older generation of male that is also going, okay, that's their daughter, that's their granddaughter. So that's also more encouraging because they're seeing it from a different standpoint as well. But I'd say even like the WSL and the initiative that the clubs are having in terms of putting the women's games at the same stadiums as the first team. So like Arsenal is a prime example. They've gone from playing at Boreham Wood, playing at the Emirates. Like, it is the Emirates, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's a step up. Whereas you'd never ever think of watching Arsenal first team occasionally play a game at Boreham Wood. Like, it wouldn't happen. So that's definitely helping, because then also the increase in capacity in the stadiums also helps encourage more people to go and watch. So I definitely think it's only going to become a bigger thing. I'd like to see like more of like the WSL. I know obviously streaming platforms, stuff like that, you have to have certain streaming to watch certain Premier Leagues and stuff like that, but more should be on BBC, iPlayer, Channel 4, ITV rather. So it should be more on mainstream TV. But also I have noticed over the last year or so, like when I listen to like Radio 1 quite a lot, and when they're doing Newsbeat, they will automatically talk about like the WSL and refer to it as Arsenal rather than Arsenal Ladies, which is actually quite nice, because then you wouldn't go Arsenal Men's. No. So it is nice going WSL Arsenal. And you go, so that is already on like a better playing field, or like a level, if you get what I mean.
I'm just sort of touching away, I think, from football a little bit, and something I know you're particularly proud of is your business, which you've had for the last 5-6 years. Obviously, it's something you started at Maidstone, wasn't it? But just tell us a little bit about your business.
I started my little baby, Body Care Sports Therapy. Should have put that underneath my name, shouldn't I? I think nearly 8 years ago, I think, or 7. I don't know. I can't quick math. But I basically had a couple of really unenjoyable jobs where you just basically get dragged in, paid minimum wage, expected to do everything. I was also treated as a cheap physio, which I didn't like. That's not what I'm there to do either. Like, I'm a sports therapist, I'm different in my own right. So I kind of set it up with my mum at her house, and came up with a name, because I know a lot of people will use their name and be like, so I could say it's Beth Cooper Sports Therapy, but I didn't want it to be BC Sports Therapy. I didn't want it to be Beth Cooper Sports Therapy. So I was like, well, what do you look after? Like, it's your body and you care for it. So I was like, Body Care Sports Therapy. And obviously then it's a name that is like my baby and it's associated to me, but also it was quite separate. But yeah, I've literally built that from scratch. Like, me and mum designed the logo. Like, we kind of found ideas that we liked, and she's really good on the computer. I'm useless with Photoshop and stuff like that. And kind of altered everything, came up with the colours, the business cards, everything. And she's been like a massive support since day one, and has, I think, believed in the journey as well. But it was like definitely more of like a part-time thing when I was at Maidstone. But when I left Maidstone, it was also at a point where I was fully booked part-time, which was really encouraging as well. The only thing is, obviously, like, when management would go, oh, we're going to have a friendly this afternoon. And you're like, cool, I've got clients that you have to then cancel last minute. That was like the only stressful thing. But yeah, it's over, I'd say, the last 3 years. I've gone from part-time, full-time football and part-time business to then part-time football, full-time business. And now I've obviously kind of stepped away from football, having a break from it, apart from like helping out with match days, and it's my full-time job, and I've built it up from scratch. I am really proud of it. It has taken a lot of hard work. COVID obviously was a whole situation, because I completely fell through the gaps because I hadn't been self-employed long enough. So I have had multiple points where I've gone, I don't think I can do this. I don't think it's sustainable. I don't think it will kick off. And now I do 4 full days a week. I do like 5 days worth of hours in 4 days. So they are long days, but I have like a great network around me in terms of clients, in terms of other self-employed business people that I can speak to, my family, friends, like people that know me and know how hard it is. Even in like when I want to take holiday, it's hard to try and balance understanding that I deserve time off and knowing that I will take a financial loss for it. So I think that's what's been the main thing to kind of accept over the last few years, is actually, yeah, I can treat myself and I can do this, and I'm entirely self-sustainable and stuff like that. And I am just really proud of my little business, my little small business that is growing from nothing to being full-time functioning. And yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, it's been a journey. It's still on a journey, and I think it was like the best thing that I could have done. I think I am definitely the brain. I have the brain for being self-employed. I don't want someone to go and tell me when I can go to the toilet and have lunch for the next 35 years.
I felt really creepy then, because I was smiling throughout it, but I love seeing people do really well for themselves. But I felt really creepy because I'm just there like with a big smile on my face.
I can vouch for that, because I'm going to big Beth up now, because I'm actually one of Beth's clients as well. So yeah, I know. But I tell you what, like, her knowledge, and the treatment she's given me in the past, because I tend to go and get sports massages. I've had a lot of problems with my lower back in the past. I've had problems with my quads, but every time I've gone to see her, she's very help friendly, welcoming, and gives you all the insights and everything's like that. And, gives you good exercise as well. And like I say, she does take it seriously. So I will say, like, if anyone's in the local Kent area at all, please go and visit Beth, because like I say, if you ever need treatment, she is the one to go to for me.
I just want to add in, Ben is the kind of client that actually makes my life easier, because as in, like, you too much, you go way too much, and I'm like, you definitely do. I'm joking. I'm quite. I like to think that I'm an open book. So what you see is what you get with me. And I have like a really good client base and a really good support base that actually, if people come in, they go, "You're all right," and I'm not, I can be open and honest about it. But also if I can turn around to people and go, "You're all right," and they go, "No," I'm quite happy to talk to them about it. Like I've got people that have gone through the worst things imaginable in life, and like even they've come in and they've been crying and stuff like that, and it's basically people get free counselling, and I get an opportunity to also justify my feelings as well. So I feel like it's also a really good area for me to be able to speak to so many different people, so many different backgrounds, so many different ages. I learned so much from so many people, but also it also brings, like, if I'm upset over a situation, the main topic is obviously boys. That seems to be the constant drama in my life. But also it helps me rationalize my emotions, but also for me to go, actually, I'm justified to feel the way that I feel. And I feel like everyone has been really supportive in that. Even when I was wondering, like kind of April time, I was wondering whether I wanted to stay in football or not. And everyone was going, okay, well, like look at it logically, weigh up the pros and cons, like look at your business. Could you expand it? Da, 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 da. And when you turn away and look at that, then you go, actually, everyone is really, really supportive of whatever the right thing is for me. And I know that I have genuine connections with people based on the conversations that I have with them. And I would not replace that for the world. Like, I absolutely love my job. Yeah, okay, I've got to go and earn money. And yeah, I've got to rock up every day. And even if I'm feeling shit, I've got to paint a smile on my face. Yeah. But I have never, ever gone into work feeling shit and coming out feeling as shit. I've always gone into work feeling shit and then walking out of it with a smile on my face.
Jen, I feel like me and you need to go down south.
I know. I feel like I need to go and
a good massage and free therapy.
Yeah, I think we need to go a little road trip. But the main thing is, for me, obviously, it's so nice to learn about women in football and see what they're doing, because my partner, he works in football, so I see that side of it as well. And it's incredible what everyone does behind the scenes. But it would be lovely to know what kind of advice you give to any young women in uni, college, school who want to grow up and become a sports therapist, and what's the best advice you could give them?
Stand your ground, know who you are, be confident and like happy with who you are. Like I said, like initially I had people that would tell me that I'm too open and I'm too this and I'm too that, and like that's not me. Like dulling myself down and putting myself in a box is not me. So be the best version of yourself, be confident, know when you're right and when you're wrong is like a big thing. So I will always put my hands up and apologize if I'm wrong. But also I'll make sure that actually I go into everything like quite well educated. But football is a hard environment to work in, especially kind of those higher leagues, higher non-leagues. It is very cutthroat. You do unfortunately meet different people that will try and throw you under the bus, that will stab you in the back, that will badmouth you as soon as you have your head turned. So it is about being sure about who you are, being confident in yourself. And if you think that football is the right environment for you, it isn't for everyone. Like, I'll be real, like it definitely isn't for everyone. And I've seen people, like even guys, they've kind of gone into that environment and they've gone, oh my God, like this isn't for me. But if you think you would thrive in that environment, go for it. Like at the end of the day, if you are turning around, you've got a degree, like as a sports therapist, you're going in with contacts, you do learn a lot on the job. So I remember coming out of uni thinking that I knew everything, and I was then at the harsh reality, unfortunately, that actually you don't know a lot. And I think that's why I really enjoyed doing placement opportunities and being able to give people the opportunity to learn what it's like in the real world, because I didn't feel like I had that exposure. But be sure, be grounded, be yourself, be empathetic, be sympathetic, be a nice person. I will always prefer to be known as being a nice person than to be known as the best physio, because that is the lasting impact that you have on people. It's not about how good you are. It's about when you were injured and you felt like shit and you didn't want to come in, how nice was the person that was helping get you better. And I will always stand by that. I don't want to be a product of my environment where you become snaky and you stab people in the back and stuff like that. That's not me. And to be fair, that's probably why I've taken a break from football, because I don't want to be that. And again, that's where my business is very different. So as long as you're supported by people that bring the best out in you and trust you, you can absolutely thrive and have the best experience of your life in football, for sure.
And looking at sort of on the flip side a little bit about sort of what people could do for you, if there was one thing that could change in football tomorrow to make it better for women to work in the sport, what would you think the top one would be?
Stop writing people off before you know them.
Yeah.
Like, don't judge someone by their looks. That goes across like any, I'd say that's not just in sports therapy, but like any aspect. You could look at anyone and go, oh, they look a bit weird, but you've already judged them before you know how good they are at the job. So especially being female in a male environment, don't judge them before you know what they're capable of. And that is, if I could change that tomorrow, that would be the main thing. Because also I just feel like if you know the person, you know that they're good at their job. So I'd say if you're a nice person, that stands for a lot more than being the best person, but being a massive dick.
Yeah.
Like, that's for men and women.
I love that. It was really funny as well, because on Twitter, this was yesterday after I did a podcast for this show, but it was the Premier League one. Someone was like, oh, can you name me Manchester City starting 11 from this week? And I actually turned around and said to them, I cover 7 leagues from the Premier League right down to National League South. I'll ask you. And I said, can you name me Brackley starting 11 from Monday? And they were like, oh. I was like, don't judge a book by its cover. It's like,
literally
look a certain way, but I can name you cities, but I can also name you Brackleys as well. And he really did pipe down. They blocked me on Twitter. that's when you know you've proven them wrong.
Yeah. But also, I also feel like in that situation, would they turn around to a guy and say that?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, I don't know any teams starting 11 from Monday, but I look at players and go, oh, I know that they had this injury. I know that they had this injury. I know this. I know that. Like, why does it matter?
Judgmental.
Exactly. I can't even remember from Monday, to be honest.
I feel like you have to know everything more than everyone else. If you all enjoy a game, all just appreciate enjoying the fucking game.
Exactly. It's so funny, because that's when you know you've got someone, when they block you. And I'm like, mission accomplished.
Yeah. Be like, thank you so much for the big nibble. That is going to feed me.
I know, thank you. Also, looking back now, if you could give your younger self some advice or just any words of encouragement, what would it be?
Again, just trust myself, trust my gut.
Yeah.
Trust my gut. No, I think my younger self was probably quite naive to when I was working with people who just wanted to reap the benefits of having me around, or people that genuinely cared. And I've learned that definitely as I've got older, when I've come across certain individuals again. And I think when you're a lot more self-assured, that can be very intimidating for people, and they don't necessarily like that. So I'd say, as long as, like, stick to your guns, be sure of yourself. I'm never try and dampen myself down to please other people. Like, I don't ever want to do that. So as long as I'm happy with myself and I can go away, and like I said, I'm not the best therapist, like I don't know everything, but I will always go away from a situation and go, could I have done something better? Because I still think that I don't know everything enough. I feel like I've handled something the right way, but I'm never cocky enough to turn around and go, oh yeah, I did nothing wrong. Like, I know that I've dealt with something the right way, but I will still potentially beat myself up about it if something else could have been better. Whereas I think you come across some people that have got the gift of the gab, think that they know everything, and then they're put in a situation where actually then they could do a player massive risk. But then they're the same people that are quite easy to point the finger at you as soon as you do something slightly out of turn. So yeah, be self-assured.
So we thought we would end it with some fun, quick, funny questions. So what was your favourite stadium you've ever worked in?
As in home or away?
Any.
I mean, I loved the atmosphere at the Gallagher on a match day. But
good answer.
Pretend Ben's not here. We'll cover him up.
The best stadium I've been in. The first one that comes to mind was when we played Blackpool.
Yeah,
I'd say that was a good stadium.
Yeah, I know you've had a few good ones on, like even Chesterfield as well, Bromley, didn't you, in the playoffs? That would have been probably a good one for you. Atmosphere, wasn't it?
I was also thinking, obviously, Wrexham's more now just because they've obviously gone up their levels so much.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. Yeah. So Blackpool, well done on that one. Is there any sort of like, do you have any sort of like pre-match rituals or superstitions, on a match day maybe when you go in? Is there anything you would do always the same every time? I know you mentioned about cleaning. You like cleaning beforehand.
Cup of tea.
I'd always like some sweets. I always get really hungry. I always have my watch set so I count up and down on my watch even if there's a clock, because you'd be surprised the number of people that will ask the physio what the time is or how long left or tell me when this time is. And always having some good tunes on in the physio room.
What's the go-to really. What would be the go-to song?
I tell you what, there's no one individual song. There's like you've got to feel the vibe of the day. So we used to last year was more R&B classics. There's probably, but then sometimes you could throw it up and I could just put my downloaded playlist on, and you got anything from Paramore to Ed Sheeran. So it could be anywhere in between, basically.
Love that.
And the last one, if you weren't a physio, what do you think you would be doing now?
I'd say, based on my younger self, I'd say probably a gymnastics coach.
Yeah.
Or I feel like in a different life, I would either have been. I liked product design at school. So again, something with my hands, like using my hands. Or I actually feel like I would have been some sort of environmental activist. There's really energy prices and stuff like that. And just so much about not having reusable energy really pisses me off. Life, that would be me. I don't think I'm necessarily.
I love it. I love that. I was not expecting that answer.
Tell you what, it's because of where I am at work. I see so many rooftops, and even when if you get the train up into London, look at how many rooftops there are. All of them could have solar panels on.
Yeah.
Why do we not? I remember, again, so random, sorry for rambling, but when the Queen died, I remember watching something on TV, and it was Windsor, and they basically said that they got these massive hydraulic wheels in the water behind, and enough movement from that caused enough energy that would power 300,000 homes. I'm like, we have a fucking river running through the middle of town. Why are we not using things that are naturally there to then help make everything more environmentally friendly?
Yeah. I reckon you'd like it at Rochdale's ground because we have solar panels. So you can change your answer now to Rochdale being your favourite ground.
Yes. I was going to say they have solar panels at Maidstone for certain things, but then they weren't working half the time. So
I can tell Beth's definitely going to Forest Green Rovers. I can feel it at the moment. Dale Vincent's getting on the phone.
What have they got?
Because they're a very eco-friendly stadium, aren't they? And actually, then again, Dartford were eco-friendly as well, weren't they? Their stadium when you weren't there.
Right, can't tell. Right, it's just I just think that that's got to be the way forward. Like everyone's got to do more to try and help the future generation. It's like us talking about women's inclusivity in football. We're doing more to try and help a future generation. I feel like I've missed the boat for me being a bloody activist. I'd never go and sit in a motorway, mind you, but I feel like there's more that everyone can be doing, and clubs, especially clubs that have got money and clubs that are influencing in the local community, they should be leading by example. I
feel like this could be our new podcast series, and Beth will have to get on board as a host.
Be like, so what's your pet peeve? Be like,
nobody's done it before. It could be a new thing. We like new opportunities on here, don't we, guys?
It's to actually rank clubs on how good they are for the environment.
Yeah. Yes.
And their like pollution like footprint in terms of like recycling. Like,
that's a really good idea.
It makes a massive difference.
Yeah, the thing is, it's like some clubs probably just don't even have recycling; they just have rubbish.
No.
So it would be really interesting. Sorry, I'm throwing a curve.
Oh, I'm down for it. Us four, we need to do it.
Yeah,
just us four on board.
I've got more Saturdays free now, so
yes, let's do it. Nobody rob our idea, by the way, because this is going on YouTube. We need to work fast. But thank you so much, Beth, for coming on and obviously giving up your time to talk to us. We've absolutely loved it.
It's been a pleasure to be on. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you. And of course, me and Jen, I want you to plug your business anyway, but me and Jen want to come down at some point. So please share where everybody can find your business on the socials, if you do have social media for them.
On Instagram, it is Body Care Sports Therapy, all one word, all lowercase, Body Care Sports Therapy.
Are you writing it down, Jen?
Yeah, I'm on my phone after. I've been following.
And thank you so much, obviously, Jen, for coming on here and giving up your time. Where can everybody find you on the socials?
So it's Jen Hunt _ on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. You can find me there.
And the B in JCB, where can everybody find you on the socials?
Sometimes FC1 on Twitter, and I dare say you won't find me as enthusiastic as Beth is on her business page, honestly. She loves an Instagram story, that woman, honestly.
Love it.
It's the only good thing. It's the only thing I'm good at is posting stories.
You should have been a content creator. This environmental activist, so you should have been a content creator.
I have not got the time or the patience for that. I find it hard enough to put a story up, let alone I've been meaning to do a reel for like the last 4 months. I haven't got around to it.
You need to start listening to your mum more as well with the Photoshop as well, I reckon. She can give you a few tips on that.
Taking photos. I can do.
I know. There are a couple of good ones that got me after Stevenage. I remember that. So that was good credit to Beth, that one, I have to say.
Get CapCut. CapCut will change your life, honestly. The stuff it does with TikTok and Instagram for me. That's what does my reels, CapCut.
Yeah.
Okay.
All for the clubs and everything.
Yeah, I just haven't got the patience to sit down. I find it hard enough like cropping and editing a video to put on my story, let alone then putting videos together, putting music over, talking over it. I then ramble, as you can tell. I can talk for bloody English. So then I end up running out of time.
That is literally me. That is honestly literally me. If anybody does want to find me, I am SharXREFC. That is on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. And of course, the most important ones, we are the Absolute Football Podcast, and we did win Best New Content Creator at the Football Content Awards. We're still milking it at the minute. We've got till November. We've got till November, so we are milking it. And we do have 4 live shows a week. So on a Monday, you can find myself, Ben and Jen, rest of the team, and NL Full Time, where we cover absolutely non-league, where it's National League North, National League South. Absolutely Premier League with Sam and the team is on a Tuesday. WSL show with Freya and Team Chaos is on a Wednesday, and you can catch me again on a Thursday where we cover everything absolutely lower league from the EFL Championship, League 1, League 2. All of them are on at 8:30. On Twitter, we are Absolute Ball Pod. YouTube and Twitch, Absolute Football Podcast. TikTok, Absolute Football Pod. Instagram, Absolute Football Podcast _ Blue Skies, Absolute Football, and then on Facebook, we are the Absolute Football Podcast. As we did mention at the start, it is in collaboration, this series, with Her Game 2. I nearly said NL Full Time. With Her Game 2. So thank you to each and every person that is supporting this series. We are really, really proud of it. Once again, Beth, thank you so much for giving up your time, and hope you all have a lovely evening. Thank you, everyone.